All right, there you go. Hello, thank you very much. David Coates from Iron Mountain. So I'm realizing the more that I spend the day here that actually Jim Williams is really an instigator. It was about 2 months ago that Jim and I actually went out for a couple of beers, and it was just 2, in Boston. And we were geeking out about customer advocacy and customer obsession and having a great time. And he's like, you know, I've got an idea. Why don't you come and speak at Advocamp? I said, that sounds like a great idea. So I signed up, and I was all excited. And then, actually, I started to look at the roster of speakers. I'm like, geez, we are not like the rest of the folks on this roster. Because we are not young. We are a 60-something-year-old company. And we are a brick and mortar. We have 1,000 storage facilities around the world. And we help companies basically look after their tape and their records. So there's a lot of companies maybe in this room that use us for various services. Thank you very much. But we don't do cool applications. We basically look after people's storage and make sure that they're compliant and make sure there's no data breaches. But at the end of the day, we're also not growing at 10, 15, 20, 100%. Right? We are happy to be growing at 3 or 4%. We are a very mature organization. So as I was thinking about this presentation, I'm like, all right, well, geez, how do I make sure that I don't look like a complete idiot? So I said, okay, well, what we do have is a great customer base. And actually, 90% is conservative. We actually work with maybe more like 95%, but I didn't want to brag, but I'm going to brag now. And we actually have about 150,000 customers globally. So it's a massive customer base, and we work from the largest customers in the world all the way down to basically small SMBs who basically need us to store 4 boxes for them for the duration of the life of their business, which can be obviously very short for a small business. So what I wanted to talk about today a little bit was actually how we can use customer obsession, how we are using customer obsession to do some of the traditional stuff. And we've seen this marketing from like 10 times. In fact, if we were doing buzzword bingo, this would have been bingo for a lot of people today, right? So we are still working on this kind of, on this funnel, and we are doing lead generation with our SMB and our mid-market customers. But what I wanted to talk today about was, sure, it's fine to have advocacy at the bottom of the funnel, but what happens if we flip it around? And what happens if we actually start with advocacy and work then through leveraging our big customers to make sure that they're not only considering additional services and cross-sell and upsell, and also obviously retention, right? But then we're also able to use those customers to help us convert. And so what I want to talk to you today, and actually, funny, Jenny kind of stole my thunder earlier, talking about advisory boards, but I want to talk about our advisory board. And I also want to talk about the fact that we're looking at customers in different ways to build advocacy. So we've been working with Influitive now for about 6 months, and I always thought, well, we've only had an Influitive community for 6 months, but talking to other people, we're actually kind of middle-aged by comparison, right? I mean, there's a lot of people here who've got an Influitive community for like 2 months. And so we have about 300 customers in the Influitive community right now, and about 300 Iron Mountain folks as well. They're mostly users. So we're seeing some really interesting stuff, and we haven't quite got to referrals yet, but we're using some really interesting internal business cases. We're testing different campaigns and materials and creative in the community. We get some really great response around that. And when we grow up, we do want to use it for referrals, but for right now, the community is more about engagement. What we've been doing, we're actually working with Ignite. Ayel Danon's in the room somewhere, but we've been working with Ignite on building our customer advisory board. And so I want to talk a little bit, just quickly, there you go, they were on the screen for a second. We actually work with 15 of the world's largest financial services companies, to actually build on an annual meeting. We then meet with them on a monthly basis also to really help us figure out how to address the marketplace. And the importance of the advisory board is not just about these 15 customers. What we're seeing is this massive force multiplication opportunity because the big challenges that they're facing in the marketplace are really challenges that our customers in more other verticals are facing, whether it's healthcare, whether it's federal, all the other heavily regulated markets. We're seeing a lot of the same trends. The only thing is, for our financial services customers, because they're so heavily regulated and they've been through so much M&A, they're really at the front end of the adoption curve. So we figure if we can solve the problems with these companies and get them to be advocates back into the marketplace, we can actually have this massive opportunity to influence the way that the ecosystem is thinking about it. And so when we took a look, there's actually 4 different areas I'm going to walk through where we've been able to leverage the advisor board to radically change the way that we're thinking about our business at Iron Mountain. And don't forget, this is a big mind change for us because we're a 60-year-old company. We're used to doing things in a certain way. We're very operationally driven. To start to put advocates and customers at the center is definitely a change in the way we've been doing business. So the 4 areas I'm going to talk about, what is content? And anybody who's been kind of following some of the influencer blogs in the last few weeks has been seen some really good dialogue around how important user-driven content is. We're also seeing some great results in terms of product development, thought leadership, and then finally the most important one is obviously demand generation as well. So in terms of content, what we realized is with the advisory board, it was an opportunity to target some of the big macro issues that many companies are facing. And as I mentioned, transactionally, we store a lot of box and tape, and that's what a lot of our users want to know. Where's our box? When's it going to be here? And how secure is it? But we know from dealing with these large financial services customers that they're really focused on how do we understand how we're managing our information across the globe. Because the biggest concern for them is that there's a risk of security breach, right? That data that's out there in other markets that's not being managed the same way will come back to haunt them. And they can't afford to stand up in front of their C-level folks and say, you know what, I didn't know what was going on in Australia. I didn't know what was going on in Korea. So what we're doing right now is working with them to build out best practice guides. What we're realizing as well is that it's really an opportunity to make our customers heroes. Because at the end of the day, their world is changing within their organizations too. Information management is moving from being a paper-based arena into more digital information. And as that change has moved as well, a lot of our records managers have to move from what is effectively the basement, right, in terms of a tactical program, into the boardroom where they're able to communicate with their executives about what's happening on, again, big macro business issues. So we've actually just finalized the guide to benchmarking and also RIM risk controls, which again is getting into the weeds a little bit. But the value of these is we've had customers on the board take them into their C-level and say, this is why what the work we're doing is important. And for them, that's huge, because at the end of the day, they have to justify their value to their organization. And what we're also seeing, actually, the Information Governance Guide has been out publicly for about a year. We've had over 2,500 downloads of that one particular best practice guide. And it's been used in lots of different roundtables and other situations, which I'll talk about as well in thought leadership. So that was really great. We got this crowdsourced content. We found that the advisory board members really started to see, and Jenny talked about this as well, it's not just about dialogue, it's actually building something that they feel tangibly invested in as well. So we then extended this into product development. And one of the things we'd heard from our customers the last 4 and 5 years is help us show value to the organization. And we took a number of different stabs at interpreting that. Like, what do you mean by value? And it was never easy to pinpoint exactly what they meant. We did some work last year with PwC, which was interviewing some of our biggest customers, like 1,500 customers. And it was clear that a lot of the organizations had a very structured program of how to manage all their information, which was great. But only 7% had any way to actually be able to measure the impact that they were having at an organizational level. And if you think about it, I mean, if any of you walk up to your boss tomorrow and say, hey, we've got a great program, and he says, good, what's the ROI? And you say, I have absolutely no idea, but I know it's great. The chance of you getting more money for the next year and more headcount is pretty slim. And it's exactly the same for these folks. So what we realized in working with the advisory board is when it came to value, they were asking us to help them do 2 things. It was help them to be able to measure in real metrics what was going on with their programs, draw correlations from those metrics so they could really put in place key performance indicators, and then most importantly, be able to benchmark not only for the program year on year, quarter on quarter, but also against the industry. Because don't forget, all these financial institutions are competitive. They all want to be top 3, 4 banks in the world, right? Because that's how they drive their customers too. So for them, for our customers, what it was enabling them to do is to be able to show within their organization, look, we think we're top 5 in terms of being a financial institution, but in terms of how we're managing our information, we're not even top 30. Now, from a management perspective, that has a lot of implications. Not only is it a competitive issue, but there's also a risk issue, right? What are we exposed on? Because no CIO or CTO wants a call from the CEO saying, hey, we've just lost a whole bunch of data. And more importantly, we've lost a whole bunch of our customer data, and the regulators are on us right now, and they're going to be doing auditing of what have gone on. Because audits take a lot of time, they take a lot of effort, and they basically put you on the radar of a lot of people you don't want to be on. So by working with the advisory board members, we actually have now got a prototype of a new product in the marketplace. It's with these 15 customers right now, but the plan is to start rolling it out to a number of enterprise customers in the second half this year. And the aim is then to roll it out much more broadly across our enterprise customers by the end of next year. The value here is it allows our sales organization to change the nature of the conversation. Because right now, a lot of the quality business reviews are all about show me, not show me the money, it's show me the metrics, right? Show me where I know my boxes are and how many I've got and all that kind of stuff, which is super tactical. What we want to be able to do is to allow our customers to see this information at a user level, so when it comes to the QBRs, we can have those strategic conversations more around solution selling, right? And really understanding what the big business problems are for our customers and how we can help solve them. The other thing as well is, as I mentioned, this is a completely extendable, and it's obviously online as well, which we're not necessarily a super technology-forward company. We do use technology, but so this for us is like the holy grail. And it's been really neat to see the reaction of our customers. Again, not just the advisory board members, but also other customers as we start to roll this out who had no view into this in the last year, 18 months. It's been jaw-dropping. The other thing as well is these two areas in terms of content and also development. We do a biannual voice of the customer survey, relationship survey. And of course, as you would imagine, because we're a big logistics company, we score super well on trust, reliability, chain of custody, right? Which is table stakes. Where we score less well, and it's generally at the bottom of the scale, in attributes is thought leadership and product development. So here you have two examples, right? A number of examples of where 15 customers are basically impacting the way that we look at our larger customer base. And the other neat thing as well is organically, it's led to a situation of where we've had customers come to us and say, hey, how can we start to promote the work we're doing, not only on the board, but also back into the marketplace? I mean, that's just a huge opportunity when you have customers coming to you and saying, hey, I want to be more vocal about some of the work that we're doing around thought leadership. So right now, we're actually doing a bunch of webinars with these large institutions where, any vendor will tell you, customers don't want to hear from the vendor. They want to hear about other customers, especially large customers who are being seen as thought leaders, who are talking about what their future plans are and how they're leveraging technology to help them do a better job, right? And those webinars are reaching hundreds of customers at a time. So again, that's that force multiplication again. We've also submitted for industry conferences as well, where again, we've got thousands of attendees. And we were able this year for the first time to put together a panel of 4 of the largest financial institutions talking about one of the hottest issues, and it got, in fact, accepted instantly. So again, it's that form of advocacy from these small number of customers that can ultimately touch thousands of customers along the way as well. And then we've also started to do more local meetups as well, roundtables, leveraging the best practice guides, leveraging our advisory board members in the local market. And that's already started to see a pipeline. We've got over a $500,000 pipeline just from one event in Chicago last November. So it's having an impact directly on, we always talk about 1 hour of relationship, but it's having this great impact on the most important hour for a lot of companies, which is revenue as well. So that's all great. And then finally, as I mentioned, it's also having an impact on our demand generation. And in fact, I can tell you that because of the members advocating for us in the marketplace, we had 2 net new Fortune 1000 business opportunities. Now, with 95% penetration in the Fortune 1000, I like to call those guys unicorns, because technically they shouldn't exist. They're like mythical beasts, right? But because of the work of the advisory board and the fact that they're at industry events, they're talking to their peers. We don't even know what they're saying about us in the marketplace, but we do know that in 2 instances, they've had conversations with people who are going to RFP, and they've said, listen, if you're not talking to Iron Mountain, you're not looking at the best service in the marketplace. And it goes beyond that, because they're helping me position my practice, position my program, position my staff best that it can be in the organization too. And so we don't pay them any commission, we can't obviously, right? But if we can get more of that in the marketplace, it just drives a huge pipeline. The other bigger upside in demand generation is through the work with the advisory board, they've told us what solutions they want to start seeing from us as well. So we've been able to go back into the marketplace and partner and buy smaller service providers to be able to address that journey that we want to take our customers on in the next 2, 3, 4 years. And again, that speaks to the voice of the customer feedback where they're saying, hey, you guys are not industry leaders. You're not thinking as industry leaders. And it gives us an opportunity to really reframe that conversation. And I can tell you that organically, one of the highlights for me from the advisory board is for the last 3 years, we told our executives, look, this is relationship, this is not revenue. we can build greater engagement and get closer to these customers and understand what drives them, then that's good enough for us. And we just had our meeting in California back in February, and we presented a solution showcase of 3 different solutions, and it led to a $5 million pipeline that the sales organization is now pursuing. So now I'm saying, yeah, it's always about revenue. But obviously, you know, it's about establishing a relationship first with the right customers in the right place with the right content that can then have this massive impact on your organization. So if you think about it, it's not just about those 15 customers. It's about our thousands of customers at the end of the day. And as I mentioned, we're not a young company, but it definitely disproves the adage of you can't teach old dogs new tricks. So thank you very much.